Gambit, Skull, Prost. Hello, and welcome to the Drunken Storytellers podcast, where I tell folk tales and folklore from around the globe. So sit back, grab yourself a drink, and enjoy the show. Hello, good evening. I think I let that run for a little bit too long there, so I apologise. Right, so, I wasn't actually going to record an episode this week, having a week off and stuff, but, I got bored, so here I am, doing my thing, talking and doing stuff. So this week, one of the stories I'm actually going to tell you is from East Anglia, Essex area, Colchester. So this week we are going to be drinking a bit of a ghost ship from Adnams in Southwold. This is one of my favourite little ales, and the more you drink, the more funny it sounds. Just try and say ghost ship when you're a little bit tipsy, and you'll understand what I mean. Anyway, just want to say a big thank you to those of you who actually listen and watch and have watched my previous videos and have actually downloaded some of the podcast. I'm actually quite surprised that people are doing this. So, yay, thank you, and all that kind of malarkey. Remember, if you do actually like this and like what I do, then please do let me know. If you don't hate it, then if you don't like it and you hate it, then let me know as well, and I'll probably tell you to go do one. But anyway, so yeah, as I say, I wasn't actually intending to do this tonight, or today, or whenever it is that you're listening, watching this. So I haven't got 3 stories like I did last time. I've only got 2 stories to tell today. They have vaguely similar themes, and we show how kind of like the ideas can kind of carry across the country from one place to another. So one of the stories is from Scotland, and the other is, I say it's from East Anglia. It kind of comes from either Norfolk under one name, or there's another version of it which I'm going to read today, which comes from Colchester. They both have different names, but they can in a way be considered the same, but I'll get into that kind of discussion-y bit after I've read both the stories. Now, what am I want to say here? So I'm only going to read one of the stories live, so there's only going to be one story on this YouTube channel. The other story, so the Scottish story, and my drunk ramblings about kind of folklore and stuff, and how these stories do kind of relate in a weird way, but also kind of don't relate. I don't know. You'll see, and if you listen to both of them, you will understand what I'm rambling about. But yeah, so you'll get the Colchester story today, or not today, on the video, and the Scottish tale will be on the podcast. Both tales will be on the podcast. So yeah, do find me on, as I say, YouTube, under the Drunken Storyteller, and on podcasts where you find your podcasts under the Drunken Storyteller. If you do go onto Spotify to try and find my podcast, make sure you look under podcasts, because there are some songs out there called The Drunken Storyteller. So when you are looking for it, please do make sure you are looking for the podcast. And yeah, cool. Right, have a quick drink. For those of you that are new to this, I am the Drunken Storyteller. What I do is I grab some folklore and folk tales from around the world. Today I'm doing something I've not done. I'm staying completely within England, and I'm not telling Japanese stories. Shock horror. So, 2 stories from the UK. And what I do is I tell these stories, sometimes my own interpretations, sometimes, sometimes actual readings from public domain stuff that is legally I'm allowed to say and read, Sometimes it's my own stories, sometimes it's reimagining of stories, and yeah, go listen to my previous episodes as well. I've got a couple on. There's some Japanese folklore on some of them, and then there's some. I can't remember what the other stories I've read are already. So whoop. Anyway, let's begin. So this is kind of going all sideways at the moment. I'm a bit confused. This is literally so. I don't know when you're listening to this or watching this. I'm in England, and we're currently in our third lockdown of this COVID-19 world pandemic that we're having. This is, for this week, probably the third time that I've spoken, and it's a Wednesday, so I'm kind of getting used to using my voice. Sorry, I didn't mean to cough, and if that blew everybody's eardrums out, I'm sorry. I'll delete that from the podcast. So yeah, this is like the third time I've actually spoken this week. I had a meeting with my supervisor, and then I ran a Warhammer Fantasy RPG game a couple of hours ago, and now I get to speak to you guys. Cool. So, right. I know how to use words and how to do things, so I'm going to say, grab yourself a drink and enjoy the stories. So my first tale I have is, this version is titled Three Heads in the Well. The version that I'm going to read to you is again from our favourite 19th century folklorists. It is in English Fairy Tales by Joseph Jacobs, and I got this version from what is it called? sacredtext.com, that wonderful website that has lots of really cool free public domain books on all sorts of random stuff. Folklore, folktales, esoteric stuff, occultism, from all over the world, and it's kind of cool. So this is Three Heads in the Well. Long before Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, there reigned in the eastern part of England a king who kept his court in Colchester. In the midst of his glory, his queen died, leaving behind her an only daughter, about 15 years of age. For her beauty and kindness was the wonder of all that knew her. So say this is the traditional kind of 19th century translation of this, or not translation, but version of this. So the language is a bit weird, and I will trip it up because I've not actually spoken this out loud. So yeah, that was all of a bit of a higgledy-piggledy sentence. Anyway. Yeah. Coughing because, yeah, not having spoken for a couple of days is weird. So, but the king, hearing of a lady who had likewise an only daughter, had a mind to marry her for the sake of her riches, though she was old, ugly, hook-nosed and humpbacked. Her daughter was a yellow dowdy full of envy and ill nature, and in short was much the same mould as her mother. Basically, he's marrying what would have been termed a hag for money, because that's apparently what people do. They get married for money. Woo. Not for anything else in the old days. Money and power and riches and all things like that. Doesn't matter what you look like, apparently. But in a few weeks, the king, attended by the nobility and gentry, brought his deformed bride to the palace. Well, that's pleasant. Brought his deformed bride to the palace. Certainly know how to make women feel good in this. Where the marriage rites were performed. She had not been long in the court before she set the king against his own beautiful daughter by false reports. The young princess, having lost her father's love, grew weary of the court, and one day, meeting with her father in the garden, she begged him, with tears in her eyes, to let her go and seek her fortune. Now, so we got this ugly old woman and her ugly daughter turning up and stealing the king away and kicking his own flesh and blood daughter out. This woman sounds particularly pleasant. So, to which the king consented, and ordered her stepmother to give her what she pleased. So not only does he basically say, yeah, daughter, you can go away because I've got this other woman who's got money, But she's going to try and give you some stuff. I've asked her to. Whether she does or not, well, we'll see. So, yeah, she went to the Queen, who gave her a canvas bag of brown bread and hard cheese with a bottle of beer. So, right, this rich woman who's just married a king, words, has given her stepdaughter a bag of bread, cheese, and a bottle of beer. I'm sure she's probably got a lot more money to give than just that. Well, shows how much she liked her. This king has really married a proper one, hasn't he? So, though this was a pitiful dowry for a king's daughter, foretelling, she took it with thanks and proceeded on her journey, passing through groves, woods, and valleys, till at length she saw an old man sitting on a stone at the mouth of a cave, who said, "Good morrow, fair maiden. Whither away so fast?" Again, it's the language here, but I'm sure you can get the meaning of that. "Aged father," says she, "I am going to seek my fortune." "What have you got in your bag and bottle?" "In my bag I've got bread and cheese, and in my bottle good small beer. Would you like to have some?" "Yes," said he, "with all my heart." So you see, she's quite nice. She's sharing the meagre possessions that she has, and is kind of being chatty and friendly to this random old dude that she's just met in the middle of a wood by a stone cave. So she's quite a nice lady. You might say naive, but, well, not in this case. As you know, sometimes when you meet random people in the woods by a cave, bad things happen. Because, yeah. Anyway, with that, the lady pulled out provisions and bade him eat and welcome. He did so and gave her many thanks and said, "There is a thick, thorny hedge before you, which you cannot get through. But take this wand in your hand, strike it 3 times, and say, 'Pray, hedge, let me come through,' and it will open immediately. Then, a little further, you will find a well. Sit down on the brink of it, and here there will come up 3 golden heads which will speak, and whatever they require, that do." Promising she would, she took her leave of him, coming... words. I'll cut out my random rantings, maybe, on the podcast. If not, I might leave them in. I don't know. We'll see. It is meant to be all about me being dumb anyway, so... Promising she would, she took her leave of him. So, yeah, you see, she shared her thing. He gives her a wand, and he gives her some knowledge to kind of do stuff, where she gets to speak to golden heads, apparently. So that's a fun thing. Coming to the hedge and using the old man's wand, it divided and let her through. Then, coming to the well, she had no sooner sat down than a golden head came up singing. I ain't going to sing. That is one thing I won't do. I'm just going to read it. Maybe if it's poetry, I'll read it a little bit poetic-like. But I ain't doing no singing. So, a golden head came up singing. Wash me and comb me, and lay me down softly, and lay me on the bank to dry, that I may look pretty when somebody passes by. Yes, she said, and taking it in her lap, combed it with a silver comb, and then placed it upon a primrose bank. Then up came a second, and a third head, saying the same as the former. She did the same for them, and then, pulling out her provisions, sat down to eat her dinner. So we see 3 heads popping out of a well, singing things about "let me be clean, please." Okay, cool. That's not weird. Then said the heads to one another, "What shall we weird for this damsel has used us so kindly?" The first said, "I weird her to be so beautiful that she shall charm the most powerful prince in the world." The second said, I weird her such a sweet voice as shall far exceed the nightingale. The third said, My gift shall be none of the least, as she is a king's daughter. I'll wield her so fortunate that she shall become queen of the greatest prince that reigns. She then left. I'll edit this bit out because apparently I can't speak. ASMR drinking. Woo. She then let them down into the well again and went on to her journey. She had not travelled long before she saw a king hunting in the park with his nobles. She would have avoided him, but the king, having caught sight of her, approached, and what with her beauty and sweet voice, fell desperately in love with her, and soon induced her to marry him. So, right, ramblings about women in folklore. Do I really want to go there? Not really. I'm sure you can see what's happening here. She's being used as a love item in very pretty kind of ways, and well, I'm no expert, so I'm not going to go any further than that, other than that sometimes women are not well treated in folklore. Look at the Mabinogion. I think it's the third book of the Mabinogion. Anyway, this king, finding that she was the king of Colchester's daughter, ordered some chariots to be got ready, that he might pay the king, his father-in-law, a visit. The chariot in which the king and queen rode was adorned with rich gems of gold. The king, her father, was at first astonished that his daughter had been so fortunate, till the young king let him know of all that had happened. Great was the joy at court amongst all, with the exception of the queen and her club-footed daughter, who were ready to burst with envy. The rejoicings, with feasting and dancing, continued many days. Then, at length, they returned home with the dowry her father gave. The humpbacked princess, perceiving that her sister had been so lucky in seeking her fortune, wanted to do the same. So she told her mother, and all the preparations were made, and she was furnished with rich dresses and with sugar, almonds, and sweetmeats in great quantities, and a large bottle of Malaga sack. No idea what Malaga sack is. Guessing with it being in a bottle, some kind of drink, I'm guessing. But yeah, what you're seeing here is a old dear stepmother likes her own daughter, so gives her lots of nice stuff. Don't like the king's daughter, so gives her bugger all. This woman sounds like a right peach. Not say that the father's not that much better, because he's let this kind of crap happen. So I think the father's probably quite as much at fault as the mother, being the nutty queen that she is. So yeah, with these she went the same road as her sister, and coming near the cave, the old man said, "Young woman, whither so fast?" "What's that to you?" she said. "Then," said he, "what have you in your bag and bottle?" She answered, "Good things, which you shall not be troubled with." "Won't you give me some?" said he. "No, not a bit, nor a drop, unless it would choke you." The old man frowned, saying, "Evil fortune attend ye." I'm not sure whether that's meant to be ye or thee, because the ye in Old English actually reads as the. So I'm guessing it's probably meant to be evil fortune attend thee, because attend ye just sounds a bit crap, in my opinion. But I don't know. This was 1900, so by that point ye had changed to thee, so it might well be ye. Anyway, bit of weird English language there for you. Going on, she came to the hedge, through which she espied a gap, and thought to pass through it. But the hedge closed, and the thorns ran into her flesh, so that it was with great difficulty that she got through. Being now all over blood, she searched for water to wash herself, and, Looking round, she saw the well. She sat down on the brink of it, and before... Nope, misaligned. She sat down on the brink of it, and one of the heads came up saying, "Wash me, comb me, and lay me down softly," as before. But she banged it with her bottle, saying, "Take that for your washing." So the second and third heads came up, and met with no better treatment than the first. Whereupon the heads consulted among themselves what evils to plague her with for such usage. So if you ever go into the woods and you find a well after you've kind of climbed through some hedges and stuff, be nice to heads that come out of the well, because they might do this weird stuff to you. The first said, "Let her be struck with leprosy in her face." The second, "Let her voice be harsh as a corncrake's." The third said, "Let her have for husband but a poor country cobbler." Because apparently marrying a poor person is a really bad thing, even if you actually love them. But, well, it's old folk tales, and apparently marrying into a rich and family and things is a thing. But yeah, don't piss off golden heads in a well in the middle of a forest, because they do nasty things like that. Well, on she went till she came to a town, and it being market day, the people looked at her, and, seeing such an ugly face, and hearing such a squeaky voice, all fled but a poor country cobbler. Now, he not long before had mended the shoes of an old hermit, who, having no money, gave him a box of ointment for the cure of the leprosy, and a bottle of spirits for a harsh voice. So the cobbler, having a mind to an act of charity, was induced to go up to her and ask her who she was. See, not all bad happens. This guy seems quite nice, even if he is poor, and apparently near to stories.
"I am," said she, "the King of Colchester's stepdaughter."
See, she's had a voice change, so I've got to change her voice. "Well," said the cobbler, "if I restore you to your natural complexion and make a cure both in face and voice, will you in reward take me for a husband?"
"Yes, friend,"
replied she,
"with all my heart."
With this, the cobbler applied the remedies, and they made her well in a few weeks, after which they were married, and so set forward for a court at Colchester. When the queen found that her daughter had married nothing but a poor cobbler, she hanged herself in wrath. Seems a bit desperate. Shows you kind of... well, yeah. Anyway, the death of the queen so pleased the king. Not sure that's any better. So, yeah, the king and queen were a little bit weird. Who was glad to get rid of her so soon, that he gave the cobbler £100 to quit the court with his lady and take to a remote part of the kingdom, where he lived many years mending shoes, his wife spinning the thread for him. So, that's a interesting little fun story. I'm going to discuss in the podcast the Norfolk version of this. I'm going to discuss it. I'm not going to read it because it's kind of... I don't want to read three of the same story, basically. But what you see here is the king and queen... the king marries somebody because he wants money, even if she is ugly. She's then seems to be a bit batshit mental. Gets pissed off that her daughter is married below her station, so kills herself. That just seems really weird. The king is happy that his wife has just killed herself, and then because he's happy, he gives his stepdaughter's husband a load of money, and then tells them to go bugger off and live in the arse end of nowhere. Now, if that's not a mental, fucked up family story thing, then I don't know what is. So yeah, on the podcast, I am going to read or talk about how there's a Scottish folk tale about a bull and a devil. I'm then going to explain or talk about kind of the Norfolk version of the story that I've just read. And I'm going to kind of go on a little bit about the rule of three, because apparently the rule of three. Not that I know anything about that. So yeah, so that is the video live stream version of my thing that I do. So please like and subscribe to my channel, The Drunken Storyteller on YouTube. Leave comments and let me know what you think. Having comments, likes and shares really does help, because then it's not just the 3 people in the world who actually do listen to this or watch this. I would kind of thinking about making it further than that. Oh, I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning actually. So if you actually made it this far and have listened to it, this is something actually kind of cool. A little bit of news that has happened. So Gehenna Gaming is a company in America who kind of do horror gaming stuff, like live stream horror gaming stuff and all sorts of stuff to do with horror gaming. And I work with occasionally through Darker Days Radio. They're going to be running a virtual horror con in, I think, the end of February. I can't remember the dates exactly. And I will be doing something for that. I'm not sure what yet. I will definitely be doing something with Darker Days Radio for that. And I'm hoping to do something with the Drunken Storyteller stuff for that as well. Maybe kind of do a panel or something on folk tales and folklore. If not, maybe run a game of Vesson, because that's all brilliantly folklore-y, folk horror stuff. And it's an amazing game and I absolutely love it. So I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'll be doing something for Virtual HorrorCon. Go check out Gehenna Gaming on Twitch and YouTube. Also, go check out my other stuff with Darker Days Radio. They're a podcast. Darker Days Radio. They're on Twitch. Well, we're on Twitch, but we don't really do anything on there. We're on Twitter, is what I meant to say. Darker Days Radio. We're on Facebook, Darker Days Radio. And there's an Instagram, Darker Days Radio. But that's that. You can catch myself, over on Twitter at TheDrunkenStore1, and it's TheDrunkenStore, STOR 1. There's no E, and it's not story because apparently that wasn't allowed. I'm on Facebook under The Drunken Storyteller. You can email me at thedrunkenstorytelleruk@gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram as Dr. Dr. _Hageldaz, so Dr. _HAEGLDAGZ. Also, my nerdy, painty, geeky stuff is Hageldaz, so just HAEGLDAZ on Instagram as well. And as I say, I'm also on Darker Days Radio, horror-themed RPGs, World of Darkness. I do some Warhammer stuff on there as well. So yeah, thank you for those minimal number of people who watched this stream. It will also, as I say, it will be up on YouTube maybe in a couple of hours. And I'm just about to record the second part of the story as well. So when that's up, go listen to me on your favourite podcast place. Usually Apple iTunes podcast, and what's the other one? What's the other one called? I can't remember. I was talking about it earlier. Spotify, that's the one. Go listen on Spotify, and Podbean is where I upload everything. So thank you very much. Enjoy your evening, rest of the day, whatever it is you're having, and cheers, kampai, the salad there, whatever. And all that kind of malarkey. Right, goodbye.